I'd like to call the Board Foundation Subcommittee meeting to order. It's December 16th, 2021. It is being streamed via live streamed. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Board Member Cornett.
Here.
Foundation President Gauthier.
Yes.
Board Member Bush.
Here.
Director Goodman.
Present.
Superintendent Sweezy.
Present.
And Board Member Girardi is not present at the time.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Do we have any public comments?
I have received no public comments.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'd like to go on and down to number 4, information and discussion, and get a foundation update from Ms. Goodwin.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Just a couple of things. First, I'll just start by saying that I'm actually going to just do a highlight from our monthly updates, which they do get circulated in the board packets. Though in November, since we had Thanksgiving and that's kind of our usual meeting, everything was moved up, and the same with December. So what we did was we combined November and December updates together. And so the school board will get that in their packet. And the review that I'm going to provide will be inside of that update that all the board members will get. So first, I'll just start off with financial highlights. At our foundation board meeting this morning, our board treasurer reported out, and this is as of October 31st. And again, due to the holidays, we moved some deadlines around reporting just so we could get through the Christmas season. So by the end of October, October 31st, the foundation was 50% to goal. So our budget for this year is $500,000 in money raised. And as of October 31st, the foundation had secured cash in the door of $250,000. Between November 1st and December 10th, we have collected, and mostly this was year-end money. This was solicitation from board members and then the foundation office. We have secured $32,000 as a combination of online donations and donations that were checks. In addition to being 50% to goal and then collecting the 32 between November 1st and December 10th, we have very solid pledges. Now, a pledge is when somebody says, I'm going to give you X dollars. And those sources we feel are very solid. I mean, anything could happen, but we feel that those sources are very, very solid. And right now we currently have $210,000 pledged. So we have some verbal commitments. And so we're hoping by the time mail is delivered after the holiday season that we will see most of those dollars in. And I feel very confident by February, we will be close to 100% of our goal, which really then allows us in spring to start raising funds for the 22-23 school year. And that's really been an objective of ours, and it's in the MOU, and that is to raise for the school year moving forward. It's very, very difficult to raise funds in a year where the programs are expected to take place. And so we're hoping that we will get to goal and that we can dedicate March through June in raising for the 22-23 school year. So I'll pause for a minute if anybody has anything to add or any comments or questions.
Oh, it sounds great.
Very good, thank you. Kathy, thank you. So some of the
I'll talk about year-end solicitation. Can everyone hear me? I clicked over to headsets. Our year-end solicitation was a combination of email and social media platforms and the Postal Service. And what we saw, we got a lot of online donations as a result of the social media. Those donations, though, are much smaller than the donations through the Postal Service. They're much larger donations. We had 2,600 emails go out. They went out for Thanksgiving, they went out for Giving Tuesday, and they went out after Giving Tuesday as a, did you miss Giving Tuesday? You can still contribute. What we noticed is the closer the emails are together, the more emails that people get, they really stop opening them. And so we can track how many people open the emails. We can also track how many people look for more information. They'll click, they're called clicks, and they'll click for more information. And you can see a decline. And then what's interesting is when we give people a week or 10 days break from those emails, all of a sudden the numbers go back up, like more people will open those emails. So there's a lot to learn from that. With the social media, so far we've reached more than 10,000 people. Now that doesn't mean they all open it, but that is the number in which we're pushing out in the Coachella Valley through Facebook and through Instagram. Just really quickly, I'll give you a fast update on wellness centers. The wellness centers, we've been working with a videographer, and we are getting to the final touches of a video, which is really an information video. And ideally that video will accompany communications with various people so they could really get a visual and a real understanding. Mike is in the video, Tanisha Taylor's in the video, Karen Dimmick is in the video, there's a teacher, Mindy, in the video, and Jerry Fogelson is in the video. And it tells a very compelling story, and it's very, very, very subtle in the way that Jerry Fogelson says the school district pays for the staff and the community needs to support outfitting and retrofitting those rooms. So we hope to have something to Mike and Simone in the coming weeks. And if it is all goes well, we'll be able to present it at the end of January during our board presentation for our mid-year update. We've also been working with everybody. Simone and I recently had a conversation about the schools in the pipelines, and these are schools that will be getting wellness centers. And they'll be in 3 phases. And what we look for is readiness. Is the campus ready? Is the principal ready? Is the counseling staff ready? What is the readiness of the school? And so we have, I'll just list a couple of schools if that's okay. Bella Vista Elementary, Bubbling Wells Elementary, Cabot Yorksa Elementary, Cathedral City Elementary, Two Bunch Palms Elementary, Cathedral City High School, Raymond Cream Middle School. So these are just some of the schools that the district believes has that readiness capacity to be able to do a wellness center. And I should say, for it, it's a little confusing. I think we have almost 7 wellness centers funded for this school year. And so we're just shy of our desire to have 9 funded and Jerry's desire to have 10 funded. So that is where we're at with our wellness centers. I'll talk about our SMART program, and that's Student Mentor Resource Training. And we kicked off our orientation with, I'm sorry, I just got distracted by the chat. Thanks, Mike, for that. So the mentor orientation and training happened this week. We have 27 students, and that's between Desert Hot Springs High School and Rancho Mirage High School. And we have 19 mentors right now currently assigned. A lot of our returners have requested 2 students. And so that's why we have more students than we have mentors. We're super excited about it. The first day of SMART programming will be January 12th. And then we will have with COVID restrictions allowing us to have, we will have a family gathering, which is a meal where we bring the family, the students, and the mentors together so everybody can meet each other. And at that time, we'll be able to do some translation so families understand. And then was really great because Ruby Rivera is one of our mentors. Ruby actually thought it might be a nice series at the Family Engagement Center to have SMART families and to maybe have 3 sessions through the Family Engagement Center that really includes the parents in the curriculum and really understanding what's going on and what's happening. And then, of course, as COVID allows us, we will be planning college field trips in the spring when we're allowed to do that. Really quickly with robotics, I had a great meeting with the tech team, and Jennifer, Bivany, and Will, myself. And we have found out that after school clubs are going to start again in January, and our middle school teachers and club members can't wait. They're thrilled, they're very excited. And so we'll be launching that in middle school. There are 8 elementary schools that are on board to pilot their clubs, their robotic clubs, and then high schools. And so right now there are 2 confirmed high schools with their robotic clubs. And then we did have some conversation about supplying some of the Mindstorm Lego kits, the EV3 kits, to the computer science classes at the high schools. And so we're able to make those available, not one per child or per student, but we're able to make them available so the teachers can have something practical to work on in computer science around theory. And let's see. We've had quite a few events. I'll just talk about the events. And this is coming out of COVID. Our community is excited and ready to party and have a good time and raise money for organizations. We were selected to be the recipients of an event on last Thursday, December 9th, at a place called The Roost in Cathedral City. It was a beautiful night. I mean, tablecloth, plated dinners. It was $45, all inclusive. And there was a show by Keisha D and her band. And any money raised went to the Keisha D Scholarship Fund. I've been in communication with The Roost yesterday, and we should have totals of what that event generated. And then one of our donors was so inspired at that event, he stood up and he pledged he would match everyone's donation dollar for dollar, anything over and above that that dinner ticket price. The Roost also made a pledge. We're just waiting to see if indeed those numbers will pan out, and we'll be able to report back next month. And then yesterday, we had a toy drive. We were the recipients of the Greater Palm Springs Realtors Association. We actually thought that we might have a much larger crowd. We didn't know what to expect. It was the first year. We had a very small crowd, but I will say for a very small crowd, it doesn't take many people to raise a lot of money. And that's a big lesson here. You know, we really think we have to get in front of a lot of people, but we had about 20 people. And in addition to the 20 people bringing a bucket load of toys, like bags and bags of toys, out of the 20 people, we were able to raise about $800 in cash at that event. So that's really great. And then this evening is the MTU, Musical Theater University, MTU's film premiere of Blame It on the Mistletoe. And we have about 300 individuals who will come. It'll be our first time really managing an event of that size. So everyone needs to be vaccinated, and they have to bring their proof of vaccination, their IDs. Everyone has to be masked. And the theater is quite large. It's a 500-seat theater. So it'll feel quite spacious. It won't feel like they're all put together and unsafe. And we did send out a reminder yesterday that people need to bring their vaccination cards and their IDs. And then on Saturday, we partnered with the Family Engagement Center to distribute those toys. And instead of just a distribution event, we're actually going to have a holiday party. So we have a Santa, and we're going to have music, and there'll be cookies and juice and activity stations. And knowing that we didn't get as many toys as we anticipated, I'm working with Ruby to really understand what that delta is between the 175 kids who are actually going to be there on Saturday and how many toys. And the foundation will help to fill that deficit, some with the $800 that was raised at yesterday's event. And we have some funds in classroom grants. And when we do have that year round, we continue to distribute classroom grants year round. We have some site money that we can also provide the Family Engagement Center so that every student has something to take home with them. And we also purchased, Javier did a great job working with Walmart and getting donations and discounts. So every family gets to go home with a gingerbread house that they then get to build over the weekend or next week before the holidays. So if you're able, you should really pop by. It's really going to be, I think it's going to be a really nice event.
Ellen, which parent engagement center is it going to be at?
Thanks, great question. At the Farrell Building.
At the Farrell Building, that's what I
And it'll
thought.
be in the parking lot. And so far, 54 families were invited. Each school identified a family and gave that information to the engagement center, Family Engagement Center. And then they're bringing all of their siblings and their relatives, and we're expecting 175 kids, possibly 200 people altogether. So it'll be really nice. And then the last thing that I will present is a new initiative. Simone and I have talked a little bit about it, and she has been very helpful in directing us to student services. It was a very casual conversation with Lisa Todd in student services when we were talking about the holidays. And Lisa said, you know, Ellen, kids get back to school supplies and kids get toys and families get turkeys, but come January to May, there's nothing for kids. And so she said one of her biggest requests are for shoes. I happened to say this to one of our donors, just repeated the story the way I just shared it with you. And that they just couldn't believe it. It was something they just couldn't understand, how young kids wouldn't have shoes, whether their shoes have holes in them or they were too small or too big. And he has taken it upon himself to make an effort to contact shoe manufacturers to get 2,500 pairs of shoes donated so that we can distribute them to the children in our district who are classified as homeless, and whether that means unsheltered or living in a shelter or living in a hotel or doubled up in another home that is not their permanent resident, whatever that definition of homeless is. And we thought a lot about this. I should say, I thought a lot about it. I had a few conversations. I don't know anyone in the desert who is actually doing a shoe drive for children. I felt that this was something outside of instruments and robotics and learning. It felt like a very good brand campaign. It felt like it could really engage people who wouldn't normally be donating or that we might not normally be able to reach. And so we are starting to look at, what does a shoe drive look like? Now, this is not contacting manufacturers. This is, what would it look like if everybody that wanted to bought a pair of Converse tennis shoes for one of our kids? What would that look like? And we just thought it just sounded so heartfelt and such direct impact that we're looking at maybe having this as a generational, year after year after year after year. So we'll see how this year goes. So that's new, and it is also in your report. Yesterday at the toy drive, we actually set up a display table, shoes and smiles. And we had the Vans tennis shoes and the Converse tennis shoes on the display. And people literally, they're like, well, how much are those shoes? It's like, oh, $40, here's 40, here's 80, here's 120, here's, they were literally like, let me buy kids shoes. So we think it can go a long way to providing our kids with resources. Okay, and that is, that's my report. I'm just going to ask Kathy and Mark if there's anything to add. There are many things that we're doing, but anything we can add to what I've shared.
There's a million things we can add, but we're not going to do it here. We had our, I'll just say we had our last board meeting of 2021 this morning. And as Ellen said, we're ahead of the game in terms of budgeted fundraising, which is great, but we're not going to rest on our laurels. And we talked a lot about plans for next year, focusing on everything from how to further monetize the SMART program through a sponsor a student campaign, to focusing on PSUSD alumni outreach, which has been a big universe that we're trying to crack. So things are great right now, and there's a lot to be done next year, and the board is feeling very good. Kathy, I'll see if you have anything to add to that.
No, there's just been so many activities going on in December. It's just boggles the mind with everything going on with the year-end appeal and the MTU and the toy drive, the Family Engagement Center, getting the wellness centers going. Everyone's been really running flat out, full speed ahead. So it's been really nice seeing that come together, and it just keeps on building on it. The momentum keeps on building. So
It really has. And that figure of $32,000 that Ellen shared in terms of our outreach, that's really only part of the story, because we have a lot of contributions still to come in. A couple of my personal mailings only just went out. So that figure will be significantly higher in January. So it's all good, and we got to keep the pedal to the metal.
and isn't that one of the largest amounts we've had from a year-end appeal?
I would say it is, yeah.
So coming off COVID, that's encouraging.
Indeed.
Are there any other comments? I want to say thank you very much. It sounds like the foundation has been extremely busy. So I want to congratulate the foundation and its board members. Really done an outstanding job.
Thanks,
And-
Karen. But, I have to say Ellen is 90% of it, and she's doing the work of about 4 people right now.
I think we all know that.
Yep.
I think that's apparent, and I really appreciate that the relationship that she has with Dr. Sweezy and with Ed Services. So that's great. And with the foundation board, it seems like everybody is really working together to provide the best for our kids that we can do. So, thank you.
Thank you. Really
you, Karen.
appreciate that. Thank you, Mike, Simone. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, we go on to other board member comments. Anybody else have anything else to add? Besides, happy holidays to everybody. Nope. Okay, we'll go on to the approval of the board foundation subcommittee meeting minutes from November 18th. They were emailed to you. Do we have any corrections? I have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All right, all those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Were we going to talk about, I forgot on the information back on number 4, the January mid-year board presentation. If we had any more ideas than all of the stuff you've already talked about, Ellen, that, the Board of Education would like to be presented. I mean, we can talk about it as a board, but I mean, your update on the budget, your fundraising events, your update on the wellness center, robotics, the SMART program, all of those things I think are important to be included in the mid-year update to the Board of Education. So I'm sure there's many other things you can think of that you would love to share with us, because we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I think having it on the agenda was really getting an idea from you and possibly John about, what you would like to see or what recommendations you would have. And so I know Mike and I and Simone and I will work much closer as we get closer to that date, because there were some very specifics about when we presented in, I think, May or June, with the financials and how the financials look. So what we've done internally is we've created a document that really shows, we'll back up and not talk about like everything we're doing, but around the budgeting. So we budgeted X number of dollars to raise for instruments, X number of dollars to raise for our wellness centers and for robotics. And then, of course, there's all these other things that just happen, which was included in that presentation, like scholarships, planned giving, those kinds of things. And so it will be parsed out so that we can see what we are supposed to raise, where we're at, and what's left to raise. And we even talked about that this morning in our board meeting. But if there's anything else that you can think of, or a format that you think is best presented to the board, we would love to hear about that. I think it would help us.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass that along.
Thanks.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe something in the Friday could be said to other board members if they have an idea of what they would like in that presentation. But I think,
Okay, we can do that.
yeah, okay. All right, we are down to the setting of the next board foundation meeting, which would be January 13th, 2022. Wow,
Amazing.
amazing, amazing. Now we're down to the bottom, adjournment. Okay, we have a.
I have a question.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
I'm sorry. I apologize. I just wanted to make note that I will be, I'm going to be back east on the 13th. So I'm just going to work with my timing. I'm sure that I'll be able to make that meeting, but I just might be in flight. And so I'll work with Erica and with Monica just to make sure like I can be on that call. But
okay,
I just so you know, I'll be back east.
Okay.
right. Sounds like fun.
As long as it's not 39 degrees like it was this morning. I mean, it was colder here than it was in New York. I just have to say that. It was very cold here this morning. In New
Was
York, it was like, oh, it was a delicious 58 degrees there.
Interesting, the weather. All right, I may have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a second. Kathy, all those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you, everybody.